Testing, testing, 1, 2.
Live feed, please. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regulatory section of the Planning and Regulatory Services Committee. Audio recording is being used to assist in preparing the formal minutes. Therefore, anyone participating in the meeting consents to being recorded and being live streamed on YouTube. So the first point of business is to welcome to the committee Councillor John O'Kane. John O, you're very welcome. I hope you enjoy your time on planning. Okay, on agenda item 1, we have apologies from Councillor Peter Lavery. Have we any other from the floor? I've just been very sorry. Councillor McGowan won't be able to make it today either. So there's none from the floor, and I haven't been informed of any others. So that will take us then to item 2, declarations of interest, and as normal we'll take them as the meeting progresses. So agenda item 3 is a report from the Director of Regulatory Services, Facilities and Assets. That's 3.1, and Elizabeth, the Director, is going to take us through the Business Plan 24-25 year-end progress reports. So I'll hand over to you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, members. Members, you received a copy of the review of the 24-25 business plans in your reports. It sets out some of the significant achievements that have been achieved by both Building Control and our Planning Department, and it also sets out some of the issues that have come up in the Department around performance. So happy to take any questions. It's a full review of the year's performance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. I'm going to bring in Alderman Wilson.
Yeah, thank you. I was just around, I suppose, the throughput application, because I noticed in the delegated list there's probably, I know Armagh is in a difficult position because a couple of staff were taken from that and put into the development plan, but it's sort of got to the point now where I'm not detracting from the work that is being done, because I know everybody's trying to do a lot with less resource, but I know there was talk about recruitment and that. I think we are in a wee bit of a deficit here, because I see the delegated list getting sort of, there's weeks it's quite small, and I know there's maybe reasons behind that, but how are we addressing that? Because we've 2 staff removed from the Armagh area who had real good local knowledge of that, and now the development plan, how are we dealing with that deficit in the Armagh area? And I know Roisin's trying her best, but she's got her own area as well to look after, so are we putting them under too much pressure, and how are we going to resolve that problem to see sort of that throughput increased?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Thanks, Alderman Wilson. Look, it's a really good question. You'll know the background to the redeployment of the 2 senior planners, obviously, and that was to try and assist in accelerating delivery of the local development plan. We're aiming to try and publish that for public consultation by Q3 of this year. The difficulty we've had, I suppose, within the local development plan team has been there have been a number of absences at senior planner level. And we felt that needed to be addressed, and that really was one of the key issues in the decision to redeploy. And you're absolutely right. The redeployment of staff from one part of the department to another is going to have an impact, and we're seeking to deal with that impact as best we can. We have seen a slight increase in the number of live applications in the system. And look, there's no denying it. It is potentially, it is linked to the redeployment. We will be reviewing the position around redeployment in the next couple of weeks. There is a possibility that we may extend the length of time that those planners need to stay with the local development plan team. That's a decision we've yet to take. But what we're trying to do is balance the need to publish the local development plan team while at the same time continuing service delivery and aiming to meet our statutory targets on the development management side of the business. So it's not a straightforward matter, but it is one where we're trying to strike the balance between helping both sides of the department. But we will keep, as I always do, keep all matters on the table, keep everything under review, and we'll make a decision on the redeployment issue within the next couple of weeks. I'm happy to keep members updated on that.
Alderman Wilson, you content, or do you want back in?
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I totally understand. It's just, from the public's perspective, and then maybe performance-wise, it's maybe impacting our throughput, in terms of a time frame, and then you're getting figures on that compared to other councils, and the public can get a view of that, and it's not maybe necessarily reflective of the realities that you guys are facing within the department trying to juggle that. So I'm respectful of that, but it's just also to be sort of cognizant of the fact that we are, we're in competition with 10 other councils as well for that type of, input and, financial and economic sort of prosperity. So I get it, but it is a concern, and I know we're addressing it, but it's just if we can, I know talk about extending that, I would be cautious around that, just prolonging that sort of situation in the Armagh area. If there's any other way around it, I would be keen to pursue it, rather than see the planners, at a sort of under pressure in the department, compared with development plan, but I understand.
Thanks very much, Alderman Wilson. Deputy Chair, Councillor O'Dowd, to bring you in next.
Thank you, Chair. I totally agree with Alderman Wilson. I just don't want pressures being moved from one department to another. I know I had asked a while back kind of the time scale, and I was given May time, if memory serves me right. It might have been March, can't remember. But that the two colleagues would be back in planning. And I know you've said there you're trying your best to work around that and to get them back. Is there any kind of a time scale that both colleagues would be back again?
Thank you, Councillor O'Dowd. I'll Damien bring you in then. Yeah. Get your button there, Damien, is it?
Yeah, thanks, Chair, and thanks, Councillor Dowd. Yeah, look, with the redeployment, the date for review basically is the 20th of June. So the initial period of redeployment was from January until the 20th of June. So it was approximately 5 months. And that 5-month period is coming to an end soon. So look, I have been engaging with Helen, who leads up the development plan team, and also with the senior planners involved, and have assured them that we will be reviewing the position and we'll be informing them as soon as possible on whether or not there would be a need to extend their stay in the local development plan team. At the back of all of this, as I mentioned earlier, is that we need to progress as quickly as possible the delivery of the local development plan team. That team has unfortunately had a number of absences over the last few years, vacancies and sickness absences. And what we're trying to do is provide senior staff to support Helen, to keep the work progressing and moving, to try and meet the deadline that I mentioned of December of this year. We've also, as members might be aware, created a new senior planner post in the local development plan team. Again, a fixed term contract which runs until about September of this year, and that is also aimed at providing additional support to Helen and her team. So look, it is very much a case of monitoring progress, reviewing the position as we go forward. Very conscious of the impact that it could have on development management. Excuse me. Members will be aware, development management currently, the performance levels are actually quite good. There's 2 of the 3 statutory targets currently being met, and the one that isn't being met, we are showing steady and continuous progress against that particular target. So we're not in a position yet, I think, where we have to be overly concerned, but look, I will say the point again, it is about monitoring the position and keeping it under review and trying to strike a balance to ensure that we keep work moving in all parts of the department, and that's really what this is about. So again, I'm happy to keep members posted as we move forward. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Damien. Members, there's no further lights on, so we're happy to note item 3.1 is for information. Okay, we will move on. So that is on to agenda item 4, and that is an item for information, and it's the report from the head of planning, and it's the planning caseload. So Damien, I will hand over to you if you stick your light on there, please.
Yep, thank you, Chair. Members, yeah, this is just to update you on the position around current caseload. What you'll see from the report before you is the number of decisions that were issued by the department during the month of May was 89. Number of applications received over the same period was 129, and that leaves the current live number at 801, which is up, as you'll see, by around 39 or 40 on last month. So linking back to what previous discussion was all about, yes, we're seeing a slight increase on our live numbers taking place at the moment, and as I said earlier, we'll continue to monitor and review the position as we move forward. In terms of call-ins this month, members, we had 1, which brings the total for year to date to 3. I'm happy to pick up on any of that, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Damien. Members, is there any questions in relation to that report? If not, I need a proposer and a seconder. Proposed by Councillor Donnelly, seconded by Councillor Mudra. Oh, sorry, that was the name for information. Apologies. Off to a good start here. Okay, so we'll move on to agenda item 5. And these are decision items. And it's going to be the report from the head of building control. So, Tom, if I hand over to you.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, members. Members, item 5.1, this is a request for a naming of a housing development consisting of 53 dwellings off the Lurgan Road in Portadown, and details are in Appendix 1. The applicant's preferred name for this development is Belfield Park, and the applicant's main reason for the preferred name is a derivative of the Bell of Seago, which is one of the most historic relics associated with the Seago area. Members will note the historic background information in Appendix 2. The recommendation, therefore, is for members' approval of the name Belfield Park for this housing development, and I'm happy to take any questions members may have.
Okay, thank you very much, Tom. I've heard the report from Tom in relation to this one. Is there any questions for Tom regarding it? If not, could we have a proposer and seconder? Oh, Councillor Armstrong will bring you in.
Yeah, happy to propose this, and I want to wish you and the Deputy Chair all the best for the upcoming year ahead, and hopefully you take all the advice that's from coming to your left and right, because they're lean on them for the support, but happy enough to propose the officer's recommendation.
Thank you very much, Councillor Armstrong, and for your kind comments as well. So that has been proposed by Councillor Armstrong. Councillor Duffy, I'll bring you in.
Yes, just happy to second, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Armstrong. So 5.1, the street naming report for Belfield Park, where it was proposed by Councillor Armstrong and seconded by Councillor Paul Duffy. All content? Okay, we will move on to 5.2, Tom, and I'll bring you back in again.
Thank you, Chair. By way of background, members will recall that in June 2024, Council received a number of applications for dual language street signage, namely Irish, in respect of a number of streets in the borough. This refers to application 062413, which is for Owens Drive in Portadown. And in pursuance with the Council's adopted street naming number policy, the application process comprised 2 stages, set out in the body of the report. As reported to this committee on the 6th of November, the application was progressed to stage 2, whereby officers have undertaken a postal survey to canvass the views of all relevant occupiers on this street. And following verification of the survey responses, I can confirm that the responses were as noted in the body of the report. One slight correction to the report is in the within the details, 3rd bullet point. It says the word marginally, but the target was 23. 28 is more than marginally above, so apologies for that, members. Members will note that the requisite threshold under the policy has therefore been met, i.e. the number of responses in agreement with the application represents not less than the 2/3. As for Article 11.2 of the legislation, it is now a matter for members to decide whether or not to use Council's discretionary power to approve the application for this dual language street signage. And members are reminded that how the discretion is to be exercised is set out in Article 11.4 of the legislation, namely, in deciding whether and if so, how to exercise its power under paragraphs 1b or 2. In relation to any street, a council shall have regard to any views on the matter expressed by the occupiers of premises on that street. The recommendation, therefore, before members is that it's recommended that members review the information contained within this report and decide whether or not to use council's discretionary power to approve the application received by the council for dual language street signs in respect of the specified street. Thank you, Chair, and I'm happy to take any questions members may have.
Okay, thank you very much, Tom. Report. Members, you have heard the report from Tom. Is there any questions for Tom in relation to that report? Okay, Councillor Paul Duffy, I'll bring you in now.
Yes, thank you, Chair. No questions, Tom. Just, I was actually going to bring up that marginally statement. As you say, it is well over the threshold, and I propose that this council do accept the application for dual language signage for Open Strive Portadown. Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Duffy. I'll bring in Councillor Mary O'Dowd next.
Yes, Chair, I'm happy to second that proposal.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor O'Dowd. That proposal has been, or the recommendation from Councillor Duffy has been seconded by Councillor O'Dowd, so I'll bring in Alderman Wilson next.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Just reading through the detail on this one, I do note that officers haven't been made aware of any other views in this matter, so I'm assuming that no written or any other concern was put into the consultation responses, and I'm assuming that. So, you know, on that basis, I would still like a recorded vote on this one, as per our previous positions on signs which meet or exceed the threshold. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Wilson. I'll just get Tom and confirm for you your question. Is that all right? Tom, do you just want to answer that question from Alderman Wilson?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, Alderman Wilson. Thank you, Chair. Yes, Alderman Wilson, we haven't received any written or verbal objections to this, this particular application.
Thank you very much, Tom. I will now bring in Councillor Armstrong.
Yeah, just happy enough to second that proposal made by Alderman Wilson to bring us to a recorded vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Armstrong. So we'll have a vote on the proposal by Councillor Duffy, seconded by Councillor O'Dowd. And if Ruth wants to come over and show me what started, oh, even better. Okay, members, the vote is through for that, and the proposal from Councillor Duffy was that the council uses its discretionary power to approve the application received by the council for the dual language street signage in Obens Drive. So voting yes was myself, Councillor Kevin Savage, Councillor Mary O'Dowd, Councillor Fergal Donnelly, Councillor Paul Duffy and Councillor John O'Kane. Abstained was Councillor Scott Armstrong, Councillor Julie Flaherty, Alderman Gordon Kennedy and Councillor Kyle Moutre and Alderman Gareth Wilson. So that concludes that vote. So Tom, we were going to move on then to the next one, which is 5.3. So Tom, I'll hand over to you for this.
Thank you, Chair. Members, again by way of background, members will recall that in June 2024, Council received a number of applications for dual language street signage, namely Irish, in respect of a number of specified streets in our borough. This report refers to application 06-2414, which is for Ballyoran Crescent in Portadown. And again, in accordance with the street naming number and policy, the application process comprised of 2 stages, as set out in the body of the report. As reported to the committee on 6th of November, this application was progressed to stage 2 of the application process, and under stage 2, officers have undertaken a postal survey to canvass the views of all relevant occupiers on the relevant street. Following verification of the survey responses, I can confirm that the responses are set out in the body of the report. Members will note that the requisite threshold under the policy has been met, i.e. number of responses in agreement with the application represents not less than 2/3 of all the occupiers of the premises on that street. As per Article 11.2 of the legislation, it's now a matter for members to decide whether or not to use Council's discretionary power to approve this application for dual language street signage. Members are reminded that how this discretion is to be exercised is set out in Article 11.4 of the legislation, namely in deciding whether and if how to exercise its power under paragraph 1b2 in relation to any street. A council shall have regard to the views on the matter expressed by the occupiers of premises on that street. Recommendation, therefore, before members is that it's recommended that members review the information contained within this report and decide whether or not to use Council's discretionary power to approve the application received by the Council for dual language street signage in respect of the street. Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to take any questions members may have.
Thank you very much, Tom, for your report. Members, it's over to you. Any questions or for Tom? Councillor Duffy.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Tom. I see this one is marginally over and just marginally under the maximum. So 7 out of 9 is just near the whole street. So I would propose that we accept the recommendation for. Yeah. I propose this council uses its discretion to accept the recommendation for dual language signage at Ballyoran Crescent, Portadown.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Duffy. And Councillor Mary O'Dowd, you're looking at next.
Yes, I'm happy to second the application that's been put in front of us from Councillor Duffy.
Thank you very much. Alderman Wilson.
Yeah, I know we've sort of 3 on the list here, and they're all quite similar in their backgrounds and circumstances. And again, I'm assuming, and I don't see it written in any other terms, so I'm assuming the no response was simply a no response without any further detail. And again, just to ask for a recorded vote. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Alderman Wilson, and we'll just go straight to that if that's all right, members. So your voting lights will come on now. Okay, members, the voting has closed and I've got the results here. So on the proposal of Councillor Paul Duffy that the Council uses discretionary power to approve the application received by the Council for the dual language street signage in Ballyoran Crescent, there were 10 members voted, and voting yes were myself, Councillor Kevin Savage, Councillor Mary O'Dowd, Councillor Fergal Donnelly, Councillor Paul Duffy and Councillor John O'Kane. And abstaining were Councillor Scott Armstrong, Councillor Julie Flaherty, Alderman Gordon Kennedy, Councillor Kyle Mudra and Alderman Garth Wilson. So that one has been accepted. So we will move on to 5.4, Tom, and you're going to take us through it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Again, by way of background for members, you will recall that in June 2024 we received a number of applications for dual language street signage, namely Irish, in respect of various streets in the borough. This report refers to application 06-2414, which is for Drumcree Road, Mews in Portadown. And again, and as for the Council street name and numbering policy, the application process comprises of 2 stages, as set out in the body of the report. As reported back to this committee in the 6th of November 2024, this application was progressed to stage 2, and under stage 2, officers have undertaken a postal survey to canvass the views of all the relevant occupiers on the relevant street. Following verification of the survey responses, I can confirm that responses were as noted in the body of the report. One slight correction, again in the detail, bullet point 3, the target was 21, the responses in positive were 29, which the word marginally should not be used, so we'll make that correction. Members will note that the requisite threshold under the policy has therefore been met, i.e. the number of responses in agreement with the application represent not less than 2/3 of all the occupiers of premises in the street. And again, as per Article 11 of the legislation, it is now a matter for members to decide whether or not to use Council's discretionary power to approve this application for dual language street signage. Recommendation, therefore, before members is that members review the information contained within this report and decide whether or not to use Council's discretionary power to approve the application received by the Council for dual language street signage in respect of this street. Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Tom. So, members, over to yourselves. Councillor Paul Duffy.
Yes, once again, thank you, Tom, and I propose that Council uses discretionary power to accept this recommendation for a dual language signage at Drumcree Road, Mews, Portadown. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Duffy. I'll bring in Councillor O'Dowd.
Yes, thanks, Chair. I will second Councillor Duffy's it's not a recommendation, application to accept this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor O'Dowd. So I'll bring in Alderman Wilson.
Yeah, thank you. It's just if I could have a recorded vote on this one. I suppose just going forward, for knowing some of the previous ones, it did state, you know, if there were written representations. I think it would be useful, whilst there's been none, obviously, in these ones, if it even, there was a line in it that said there was no other written information received. I think it would just be useful pre-meeting, you know, to find that out, and I'll save me having to query it at the meeting, if possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alderman Wilson. Tom, if you're happy enough for that? Yep. Okay, yep, okay. So we had a request from Alderman Wilson for a recorded vote on that, so members, voting will be open now. Okay, members, the voting is in for that proposal from Councillor Duffy that the council uses its discretionary power to approve the application received by the council for dual language street signage in relation to Ballywarren Crescent. So voting yes was myself, Councillor Kevin Savage. Oh, apologies, members, that's Drumcree Road. So the votes were yes, Councillor Kevin Savage, Councillor Mary O'Dowd, Councillor Fergal Donnelly, Councillor Paul Duffy and Councillor John O'Kane, and abstaining were Councillor Scott Armstrong, Councillor Julie Flaherty, Alderman Gordon Kennedy, Councillor Kyle Moutre and Alderman Gareth Wilson. Okay, so members, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is 5.5, and this is an item for information, and it's a monthly report on building control and property certificate work. And Tom, you're going to take us through this.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is just to keep members informed of some of the workload undertaken by the Department during the first 2 months of this financial year. In the last 2 months, we have received 463 building regulation applications with notional investment value of just over 37.5 million. In the last 2 months, we've also carried out just over 3,328 site inspections and have undertaken 326 plan assessments and issued a total of 454 statutory notices, including 128 approvals. The Department also continues to deliver the property certificate function for the conveyancing of properties across the borough. And in the last 2 months, we've received and administered 614 new applications and issued 580 certificates to solicitors and agents relating to property sales. So thank you, Chair. This is for members' information, but happy to take any questions members may have.
Thank you very much, Tom, for that report and some good figures in there. Is there any questions for Tom? That's an item for information, members. Okay, there's no lights on, so Tom, thank you very much for that. Members, we move on to agenda item 6, which is correspondence. There is 2 items. 6.1 is DFA Transforming Planning, Appointed Persons Independent Inspectors Project. And 6.2 is the historic building listing of former Kilmore Primary School. We're happy to note, or is there any questions on either of them 2 items of correspondence? We're content to note, members. Okay, we will move on. Okay, so agenda item 7, members, is a confidential report. So could I seek a proposer and seconder to move the meeting into the committee? Alderman Kennedy, Councillor Moutre, thank you very much. Members and online viewers, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, exempt information, we will now be moving into a confidential session of the Council. This means that we will be turning off the public feed of the meeting. This will be returned when the meeting is restarted. Can I ask the ACT officers to please turn off the live feed and confirm with me when a confidential section of this meeting can proceed? Please. Thank you very much. Welcome back, online viewers. We are moving on to agenda item 9 now, which is any other relevant business. I wasn't notified of any other relevant business, members, so we will take a short recess to 4 p.m. and then we will look at the planning applications. So thank you. please. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the planning section of the meeting of the Planning and Regulatory Services Committee. Audio recording has been used to assist in preparing the formal minutes. Therefore, anyone participating in the meeting consents to it being recorded and being live streamed on YouTube. Also, during the course of this section of the meeting, questions may be asked by councillors who are members of the Planning and Regulatory Services Committee, of planning officers, applicants for planning permission, objectors, or those speaking on their behalf. In doing so, councillors endeavour to ascertain the information which they feel is necessary to enable them to determine the application. However, members of the public should note that councillors will not reach a conclusion as to whether an application should be approved, refused, or deferred until the debate on the application has concluded. And members will be taking these in different order, but I'll keep you straight on that score. So we are going to start with Appendix 1, which is application LA08/2024/0505/A Clear Channel NI Limited, and it's approval of conditions. Liam McCrum, Senior Planning Officer, is going to present the PowerPoint, and this is a returning application, and an addendum report has been circulated. Conor McGarry from Clear Channel NI is here to make a representation in relation to the proposed conditions, and also in attendance on behalf of the Council are Paul McCullough, Environmental Health Manager, Environmental Protection, and Amy Gay from the Environmental Health Officer. So, Liam, I'm going to hand over to Liam in the first instance to present on the conditions. Okay, Liam. Councillor Mutter, I'll bring you in first.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Chair, because it's a returning application, I wasn't here when it was first introduced, so on that basis it'd probably be best just to sit this one out and remove myself from the proceedings. Yep, I will do that. Thank you.
And Councillor John O'Kane, I'll bring you in.
Thank you very much, Chair. As Councillor Mutri is my first sitting here as well, so I'm sitting this one out as well.
Thank you very much, Councillor O'Kane. So I will then hand over to Liam to present. And Liam, if you indicate that, I'll bring you in. Thank you, Liam.
Thank you, Chair. This application was previously presented to members at the Planning Committee meeting on the 7th of May 2025. At said meeting, members decided to overturn officers' recommendation to refuse the application and approve the proposed digital signage, subject to bringing back appropriate conditions to be agreed by members at the next available planning meeting. Members will have viewed the report and associated addendum which set out the proposed conditions. Members' agreement for the proposed conditions is sought by officers. If required, I can take you through the PowerPoint presentation again, if you so wish.
Liam, I don't think that's necessary, so we were all here last week for it, so if you just want to give us an overview of the conditions, maybe.
Okay, in the first report that was circulated in the addendum, there were 4 conditions listed. These read as condition 1, that the permitted digital advertising panel, as marked on drawing 03, existing proposed elevations, shall not operate between the hours of 2100 and 0800 hours. The second condition was that the permitted digital advertising panel shall have a control mechanism for the automatic adjustment of screen brightness to ambient levels. Maximum luminance levels shall not exceed those stated in the Institute of Lighting Professionals Guidance PLG05, the brightness of illuminated advertisements. This shall incorporate measures to avoid glare during dark hours and facilitate legibility during the daylight hours that demonstrate the nighttime luminance of the digital screen will not exceed 300 CDM2. The third condition was that the minimum duration of any image shall be displayed on the digital advertising sign hereby approved shall not be less than 14 seconds. The fourth condition was that the digital advertising screens hereby permitted shall only use static images and shall not contain moving images. The rate of change between successive displays shall be instantaneous and shall not include the sequencing of images over more than one advert or message sequence where a message is spread across more than one screen. And in the associated addendum, there were 2 additional conditions added. The first one there, number 5, was that the advertising hereby approved shall not be erected or retained other than the position shown in the approved plans, which is a very standard one. And number 6 there was that any advertisements displayed and any site used for the display of advertisements shall be maintained in a clean and tidy condition to a reasonable satisfaction of the council. Again, a standard planning condition.
Thank you very much for your report, Liam. We have online, we have Conor McGarry from Clear Channel NI to make a representation in relation to the proposed conditions. Conor, you're very welcome to our meeting. I'm going to bring you in now. Once you start speaking, you will have 3 minutes. And once the 3 minutes is up, you will be cut off. It is nothing personal. It's just the planning protocol. So, Conor, once you start the clock will start. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair and members today for giving me a chance to speak. Just have a couple of points to make just on 2 of the conditions, Condition 1 and Condition 3. Firstly, the first condition obviously is restricting the operating hours from 8 AM to 9 PM. It's quite a common thing for the majority of our clients and advertisers to try and target the commuting hours. Our standard operating hours at the minute are 6 AM to 11 PM. We've 10 of these approved throughout Northern Ireland, and we've had no operational conditions, no previous conditions attached to any other approval whereby we can't operate to our normal hours. Contextually similar applications throughout Belfast, Newton Ards, all have no operational hours condition to them, and on these 10 approved, and it would be commercially damaging. I might render the site just commercially unviable if we were to restrict the hours. It just, our clients and advertisers obviously seek to advertise between 6 AM and 11 PM. That's kind of the hours we would seek to have the condition changed to if possible. The second condition then is the minimum duration that the advertisement can be shown. Currently, Environmental Health are seeking 14 seconds and DFI Roads we're seeking 7 seconds just in various consultations throughout the application. For commercial purposes, the advertising slots are sold on 10 seconds. So mathematically, it's just easier selling space over minutes, hours and days if it was conditioned to 10 seconds. And just to highlight, like Armagh and Banbridge most recent digital application that they approved in High Street Portadown, there was no conditions attached in respect of hours, operational hours, levels of illumination, or the advertising minimum duration. We're just kind of seeking a bit of clarity and fairness in the matter when it comes to the approval of this application, the conditions attached to it. In respect of the technology within the screen, I think we've already demonstrated that we're happy enough with all other conditions, and the levels of illumination can all be conditioned for daytime and nighttime, whatever the council wants or attaches to the permission. We would be happy enough to abide by all them. But other than that, that's all I'd like to say on the matter. And just those first 2 conditions, Condition 1, Condition 3, is just where we have a slight problem. We'd like to address it. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Conor. Well within your time limit, sir. Members, you've heard Liam outline the conditions and you've heard Conor's response to them. Have we any questions at this stage? Councillor Ian Wilson. I'll bring you in now, Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question for Conor. The adjustment you were seeking with Condition 1 was 6 AM to 11 PM and Condition 3 was 10 seconds. Any of the other conditions, have you any issue with it? And I do understand your concerns that there was a digital sign passed in Portadown without any conditions. So just a wee bit more clarity on Condition 1 and Condition 3. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wilson. Conor, if you indicate to speak, I'll bring you back in. There you go, Conor, you're back in.
Many thanks. Yeah, just on Condition 1, obviously 6 AM to 11 PM is our standard operational hours. That's what we kind of have been doing across the board for all our other approvals, screens that are operational throughout Northern Ireland. It's easier, and we just find that there's obviously there's a market for advertisers, clients and stuff from 6 AM right through to 11 PM, and that's our operational hours. And we would just seek to obviously amend that from 8 AM to 9 PM, just change it to 6 AM to 11 PM. And then in respect of Condition 3, yes, we would be seeking 10 seconds for the minimum duration per advertisement.
Thank you, Conor. Are you content? Councillor Wilson, thank you. I will now bring in Councillor Paul Duffy.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And totally understand where he's coming from. It's just to point out that this council is forever trying to promote nighttime activities, you know, in our town centres. And obviously, I think this would actually highlight the nighttime activities, especially when there's not just advertisements, public notices and stuff going on, and things do go on, but after 9 p.m. So I don't see a problem with what he had said in 10 seconds, 14 seconds. There's not much real difference there.
Thank you very much for your comments, sir, Councillor Duffy. Next is Councillor Mary O'Dowd.
Thank you, Chair. I totally agree with all the comments that has been made. 11 o'clock is reasonable enough. I know in the winter people might have issues because it's dark and all the rest, but during the summer it's still light at 9 o'clock. You know, it's not dark. It's not even slightly dark. So I don't see how there's an issue here on letting this go on to 11 o'clock at night. And as for the other point, I totally agree. But there isn't. Why isn't there any conditions on the one in Portadown, and why has there conditions been put on the one in Banbridge? I don't see how it levels up, because they're both in the middle of the town.
Thank you, Councillor O'Dowd. Now, the one in Portadown was a long time ago, so Liam, I'm not sure if you're involved in that or wish to comment, but like, if you have any comment, you're free to make it, Liam.
Yeah, Chair, I think the essential difference was the proximity to residential properties. In the one in Portadown, I don't think there was any residential properties within close proximity to that signage, whereas in this one, within 50 metres, we have a number of residential properties. So that's probably, in essence, why there was no conditions attached to the previous one.
Councillor O'Dowd, I'll bring you back in.
Yes, please. Just out of curiosity, and I know where the sign's going, is the residential properties not at the back of it? Or are the Fairtuck side?
Councillor O'Dowd, Liam, I'll bring you in.
No, they're actually, if you know the opposite side of the road from Friar Tuck's there, just where the Imperial Bar is and the Red Dragon Chinese, immediately above that, there's a number of residential properties above the actual ground floor accommodation.
Thank you very much. Liam, Councillor Armstrong, I'll bring you in next.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Liam, for the report. Just in relation to the display time, and would there be, I know we're just going to ask, I know it's the answer is going to be it's 4 seconds difference, but is there much of a difference between the 14-second slot and the 10-second slot is what they're requesting in relation to whether health and safety or whatever concerns there may have been? Is there going to be an issue with that, or is there a reason why we've chosen 14?
Thank you very much, Councillor Armstrong. I'll bring in Liam to see if he can shed any light on it.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, essentially we had two different consultation responses, one from DFI Roads that were suggesting 7 and one from Environmental Health that were suggesting 14. But I believe Paul has been out and maybe re-looked at the site there, and there might be an acceptance of the 10 that is being suggested here. So I'll maybe bring Paul in on that point.
Thank you, Liam. I will do that. Paul, if you indicate to speak, I'll bring you in.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is an area of emerging guidance. What we do know is that the amount of change to the image does have an effect. You know, the colour and the resolution is changing of that image all the time. and if that is causing a glare in residential properties, the turnover of that in itself is having an adverse effect. But as I say, it is an area of emerging guidance. We did use the value of 14 seconds from some guidance that we had previously looked at. I'm aware of the applicant's statement that 14 would be acceptable, and I think we can, having regard to the specifics of this site, we would be happy, to accept 10 as proposed by the applicant.
Thank you very much, Paul. Yep, no problem. Councillor Armstrong, come ahead.
Sorry, Chair, and just in going back to the applicant, you know, I'm a wee bit uneasy about a 6 a.m. start. You know, I'm one of those people who like my bed in the morning, don't like getting woken up and disturbed it. Would he even concede to going to 7 a.m.? And if that's the case, we could maybe look at that and probably discuss it even further.
Okay, thank you. I will bring Connor in. Connor, if you could indicate to speak, I will ask you to respond to Councillor Armstrong. Okay.
Hello, yes, hopefully you can hear me now. I think that's working. Thanks for the query. Yes, it's one of those things, we've invested that heavily into the screen, and when we do spit out all the numbers and all the maths, and getting the return of investment, things like that there, that factored in with when our clients and advertisers like to advertise and targeting commuters. We have one entire system which would be managing all our screens. So effectively, if, let's say, Coca-Cola wanted to advertise within so many different locations at 6 to 7, then it runs across our entire network type thing. So this kind of adds to our entire network. And then in respect of wanting to start at 6 a.m., it's an important aspect for us because we obviously we need to achieve what we want to do for our clients and stuff. But at the same time, we obviously have conditions in respect of lighting and the levels of illumination. And I can show, like, there's examples where all the ones around Belfast are operating well below the standard levels of illumination that's been set out within that guidance that's referenced within condition 3, that we can reduce it to minimize the impact. So I understand that there's a concern at that time in the morning that there will be strong levels of illumination, but they've actually been operating at about 275 candelas per square meter from 6 to 9 roughly. That's what it's been operating at so far. So hopefully, albeit it mightn't seem like an awful lot to members here today, but to get the 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. is quite an important commercial aspect and quite an important factor within our actual business operations. So hopefully that explains what we're trying to achieve, but we do try to minimize the impact by we are well below the levels of illumination within the guidance for the screens at that time.
Thank you very much. Connor, content? Councillor Armstrong? Thank you. I will now bring in Alderman Kennedy.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Armstrong sort of thought that I was just pointing to Liam to see, was there any compromise in the time thing? It's nothing to do with the thing. It's to protect nighttime amenity at nearby sensitive receptors. You know, if you're saying coming home at 9 o'clock and then they would have gone to something that's been interfered, backlash. But I was just wondering, is there any chance, Councillor Armstrong said 7, so I was thinking something like 7 to 10, but it's seemingly Connor's all duck or no dinner.
Yep, it would appear to be that there's commercial reasons why that is, and I suppose logical reasons as well because of their system, as explained by Connor there, I think. So, Councillor Flaherty, bring you in next.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, can I just get put over that last statement there again? Don't talk to me about technical things here about light. I've just written down light intensity. So was the intimation there that it's a lower, I'm layman's terms here, sorry, Chair, but a lower light intensity from 6 to 9 and say 9 till 11 than would be during that sort of core hour? Is that what is normal practice? Is that what he's saying? Because that to me would change things ever so slightly if it's lower light, say 6 to 9 and then later on, well, then does that not solve that problem a little?
I'll find out now, Councillor Flaherty. So, well, Conor, I'm going to bring you in now, and I think it's essentially we can boil this down. As the day gets brighter, does the screen get brighter to reflect the amount of light that's available? So I think, is that summed up, is it? Yeah. Yeah, and it's standard practice as well, Conor. So bring in Conor.
Yeah, thanks for that. Sorry, just to make it a wee bit clearer this time, maybe I just rushed that. Effectively, what we've found is when we've been advertising from 6 a.m. to about 9 p.m, our screens and the remote sensors and the daytime sensors that are running in it, the operating system that manages itself, has been averaging from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. On average, the screens have been a lot lower in levels of illumination. Obviously, because there's lower lighting levels, they don't need to be as bright because they're still seen. So they've been operating at about 275 square meters per candela. And that, don't want to confuse you, but that's probably half of what the guidance says. So they're a much lower lighting level from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Then as the day goes on, they get brighter during those daytime hours when there's more, when obviously the daylight sunlight's higher and the screen needs a bit more brightness to pick it up in the light. So in the early mornings, it's just not as bright. And then again, the same would happen in the evening when the level of light drops again in the evening, and the screen itself drops as well because it doesn't need to be as bright. So the system manages itself, and that's why we invested so heavily in this screen. During the middle of the day when it's at its brightest, then yes, it goes up to its maximum levels, what it's allowed. But during those outside hours, then it would reduce itself down because it doesn't necessarily need to be that bright. So it lessens the impact of the glare and light pollutions, things that's already been talked about and discussed. So hopefully that clears that up. Thanks.
Councillor Flaherty, is that all right? Thank you, Conor, for clearing that up. Members, I am not seeing any further lights on, so we'll move from question into the debate stage. So has anybody any thoughts on the matter? Councillor O'Dowd, I'll bring you in first.
Yes, thank you, Chair. To be honest, I know where the sign is, as I say, and because we've been informed of the way the lighting and everything is going to be, I personally don't see an issue, a major issue between 6 and 11. And if it's going to proposal, I'd be happy enough to propose we change the conditions to 6 to 11, and the other one was for the 10 minute, 10 seconds, 10 seconds instead of 14.
Thank you very much, Councillor O'Dowd. And we'll go to proposal stage. I'll bring you in first then. And next we have Councillor Ian Wilson. So go ahead, Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. I have to agree with Councillor O'Dowd, especially when we have an illuminated sign in Portadown without any restrictions on it. I think this is a very reasonable compromise by the applicant and the agent for the hours of 6 a.m, 11 p.m, and a 10-second window for the display. I think that's more than reasonable. We could even been pushing here to have no restrictions at all, as a precedent has been set with Portadown. So I don't think it's unreasonable to work with the applicant and what he's requesting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wilson. Yes, it was a fairly interesting debate. I've learned a lot about how lights work and these advertising screens. I didn't realise the technology behind them. So it was Conor, thank you very much for that, taking us through that there. I think the direction of travel is, members, that we want to change these conditions, but I'm in your hands for it. So there's no lights on. So Councillor O'Dowd, you had indicated you wish to come in for a proposal, so I will bring you in first.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I propose that we change condition number 1 to the hours from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m, and condition number 3 from 14 seconds till 10 seconds.
Thank you very much, Councillor O'Dowd, for your proposal, and I'll bring in Councillor Ian Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to second Councillor O'Dowd's proposal, and hopefully this will put this application to bed and all parties can move on. So happy to second. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wilson. So, members, we have had a proposal by Councillor O'Dowd, seconded by Councillor Wilson to amend condition 1 so the advertising can operate between 6 AM and 11 PM, and condition 3 that sees the advertising sections for 10 seconds each. Are we content with that? Are we all in agreement? Okay, thank you, members. So that has been agreed. So that is Appendix 1 sorted. So thank you very much to Conor for coming online and Liam for your report. Members, we're going to move on to Appendix 6 now. So I'll just find that in minute or on minute pad there. This is application number LA 08 2024 1315/0, and it's from Tato NI Executive Pension Scheme approval. Sinead McAvoy. Oh, sorry. They're coming in. Oh, I forgot about Kyle. I'm John O. Apologies. I didn't have any interest. I forgot about Kyle. Okay, members, we're going to move on to Appendix 6 now. So this is application number LA 08/2024/1315/0, and it's a Tato NI Executive Pension Scheme. Sinead McAvoy, our Senior Planning Manager, is to present the report and PowerPoint presentation. An addendum report has been circulated, and also in attendance and has speaking rights for clarification purposes only is Donna Lyle from Turley's. You're very welcome, Donna. Thank you for coming along. So, Sinead, if I hand over to you, you can take us through the report.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. The application is for the proposed demolition of existing buildings and redevelopment of the site for light industrial, general industrial and storage and distribution development, associated access, car parking and other site works. And the reasons before the Plan and Regulatory Service Committee this evening is because it's a major application. It's been taken that members have read the report, including the addendum in full, and as such this will be a synopsis only. The application site is located within the development limit of Craigavon urban area. The majority of the site was located on land zoned as existing industrial land. A small section of the land on the western part of the site is zoned as proposed industrial development land, and a small section of land on the eastern part of the site is unzoned whiteland. There are no key site requirements for the land zoned as existing industrial or the unzoned land. However, part of the site zoned as proposed industrial land has 4 key site requirements. These are assessed as per your report, and the proposal is considered to be acceptable in the context of the key site requirements. Furthermore, in accordance with policy PED 1 of PPS 4, a development proposal for Class B2 light industrial, Class B3 general industrial and Class B4 storage and distribution use is permitted in an area specifically located for such purposes in a development plan, provided the scale, nature and form appropriate to the location. In light of this and objectively assessed, officers of the opinion that proposed use is acceptable in principle. As regard to design, layout and amenity, officers note the proposal would be for a large-scale industrial development within the existing brownfield site, currently occupied and surrounded by existing industrial development. The final layout, design and material finishes of the proposal will be assessed at reserve matter stage should members grant planning approval here for the principle of development. There is existing vegetation to the periphery of the site, and conditions are attached to ensure that these are retained, and as such ensure that appropriate boundary treatment and means of enclosure are provided, and any areas of outside storage can be adequately screened from public view. In respect of amenity of the wider area, officers note there are no residential properties in the immediate vicinity. Consideration has been given to the adjoining school, and officers in consultation with the Environmental Health Department are content that this site can be developed without adverse impact on amenity in relation to noise and odour. Notwithstanding this, a condition to provide an updated noise assessment and details in relation to lighting are suggested as per the conditions attached in your report. As per the officer's report, access, traffic and parking have all been fully considered. Outline planning permission is sought for a floor area including mezzanine of up to 43,863 square metres. Appraisals have been carried out in relation to the maximum quantum floor space and the maximum parking spaces that would be required, and this can be adequately achieved within the site. These details will be submitted as part of the reserve matter application should planning permission be granted. Officers in consultation with DFI Roads are of the opinion that, subject to the conditions attached, the proposed development will not prejudice road safety or insignificantly inconvenience the flow of traffic. This proposal has been accompanied by a BAT survey and impact assessment, a drainage assessment, a noise impact assessment, an outline construction environmental management plan, a preliminary ecological appraisal, a preliminary risk assessment, an energy strategy, a Schedule 6 consent, a service management plan, a transport assessment form and a workplace travel form. These have all been appraised by relevant competent authorities who have raised no issues of concern. There have been no third-party objections from this proposal. And after undertaking a policy assessment and plan and balancing exercise and subject conditions attached within your report and the addendum, it is recommended the plan of permission be granted. Let's take it through the PowerPoint presentation, members. That shows the location within the site, so it is to the west of Lurgan Town Centre. The next slide, please. That shows the site location plan. It's outlined in red. The small area there to the northwest is within the floodplain, and so that has been excluded from the site area. Next slide, please. That shows an aerial view of the proposed site. So it is around the existing industrial complex and the adjoining area land to the west. The next slide, please. As I said, as purport, this is an outline application only, so matters in relation to detail, siting, etc. will be fully considered at the next stage should use be in mind to grant plan approval. However, concepts have been provided to ensure that this quantum of floor space can be accommodated within this site. So there's a concept for information only, and then there's a, next slide please. There's a second concept which is for information only, which shows that this quantum of floor space can be provided with a car parking on this particular site. Next slide, please. Detailed survey of the access was undertaken to ensure the largest HGV vehicles and the number of vehicles can be taken in and out of it. So the top is in and out from the Lurgan side, and then to the bottom is the in and out from the Craigavon side. These can all be fully in and out without any additional road improvements. Next slide, please. That's just photo one showing the view of the existing building. This is proposed to all be demolished. Next slide, please. That just shows a view of the western side of the existing site. Again, this is all to be demolished. Next slide, please. Again, this is the view of the eastern side of the building. That'll be the side next to the school and the Gaelic pitch. Next slide, please. That just shows a view of the eastern boundary. Those eastern boundaries have to be retained as part of any planning approval. Next slide, please. And again, that's the southwestern boundary. Again, that's to be retained. The lights there in the background would be the lights that are around the existing pitch that's adjacent to it for people that's familiar with the local area. Next slide, please. That's a view of the rear boundary. That particular site out there, just beyond that sign, will not be developed. That actually is land that's in the floodplain, so that's been taken out of the site location plan, so there'll be no development in there. Next slide, please. That's just a view from Wenlock Road out to the main Portadown Road, so it'll be off that Wenlock Road out to the main Portadown Road. Thank you, members.
Thank you very much, Sinead, for that comprehensive report. And members, just to remind you, Donna Lyle from Turley's is here for clarification purposes if we need any. Okay, so members, that's open to questions. And I'll not prolong the agony. If there's no questions, we'll move on to the debate stage. If anybody's any thoughts on the application that's before us. Okay, it was a fairly comprehensive report, and I think Sinead had crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's, so if we're content, we'll move on to... oh, sorry, Alderman Kennedy, you're looking in.
The building seemed to be outdated a wee bit there, and for modern technology and access for vehicles and stuff, it's progress is going to have to take place by the look of it, so that's the way time is moving, bigger and better.
I know that building had been vacant for a long time, so it had, and because I used to live not too far away from it many years ago, and it was vacant then. That wasn't yesterday, so it wasn't Alderman Kennedy. So you're correct in that score. So members, we're probably enough. I'll seek a proposer and a seconder for the application. Alderman Kennedy.
Accept the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Alderman Kennedy, and Councillor O'Dowd.
Thanks, Chair. Yes, I'm more than happy to second that.
Thank you very much, Alderman Kennedy and Councillor O'Dowd. So we have approved that the outline application for that request. Donna, you're free to go. There's no questions for you. So thank you for coming on. Thank you. Okay, members, so that was application 6. We're going to move to application appendix 2, which is application number LA08/2024/1103/F from Thompson Leisure Limited. And Sinead is going to take us through this report on PowerPoint again. And I think online we have Richard O'Toole from O'Toole and Sarkey, is that correct? Okay, so Richard's online, should he be required. So Sinead, if you indicate, I'll bring you in. Thank you, Sinead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. The application is for the retention of an extension to a commercial garage workshop building to incorporate additional motorhome, valley and damp work bays, erection of an additional extension for a prep area and display area, a customer waiting area building and a building for the biomass boiler, an extension to the yard for staff, customer and motorhome parking and service, and a further extension of the yard into the field to the southwest for the parking and storage of rental motorhomes and associated site works, including landscaping, bicycle parking, shelter and electric vehicle charging points, and improvements along the Drumnabreeze Road. Again, the reason is before the Plan and Regulatory Service Committee tonight is because it's a major application. It's been taken that members have read the report in full, and such this will only be a synopsis. The application site is located within the open countryside, and the SPPS, PPS 21 and PPS 4 are the applicable policy contexts. Policy PED 3 of PPS 4 allows for the expansion of an established economic development use in the countryside, where the scale and nature of the development does not harm the rural character or appearance of the local area, and where there is no increase in the site area. As per the reports, officers are content that the scale and nature of the proposal is acceptable. However, the proposal does involve a major extension of the site area. As such, in this case, officers are of the opinion that exceptional circumstances apply. Information has been submitted in relation to justifying why relocation of the enterprise is not possible for particular operational or employment reasons, how the proposal would make a significant contribution to local economy, and the development would not undermine rural character. Officers have no reason to dispute the finding of these reports and are also content that a proposal will not undermine rural character. The design, integration and impact on amenity have been fully assessed, and no concerns have been raised in respect of the existing and proposed development of this site due to the separation distances from any sensitive receptors. The proposed development seeks to utilise the existing access from the Drumnabreeze Road. The TAF predicts an increase in daily vehicle movements of 21:10 each way, with peak hour arrival between 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and the peak hour of departure between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Road improvements comprise the widening of the public carriageway at 6 locations to provide passing bays to facilitate the movement of motorhomes. These passing bays have been designed to be of an adoptable standard. In addition, there is sufficient parking provided at the site to meet the needs of the existing and proposed development of this site. The proposal has been accompanied by a lighting report, economic impact assessment, a drainage assessment, a transport assessment form, an alternative site assessment, an ecological appraisal, a noise impact assessment, a Schedule 6 consent, and a quantitative risk assessment, and these have all been appraised by the relevant competent authorities, who have all raised no objections. A petition carrying 86 signatures have been received in support of the application, and 2 letters of objections have been received against the application. These have all been considered in detail as set out within your report, and after undertaking a policy assessment and plan balancing exercise and subject to the conditions attached within your report, it is recommended the plan approval be granted. I'll just take members through the PowerPoint presentation. Again, that's the location of the site. So it's directly to the south of Edenmore Golf Club, for those that know it, between Macrolin and Drumore. Next slide, please. So the red line of the application site extends down to the entrance of the Edenmore Golf Club, and road improvements are made along the public road to the entrance of this site. Next slide, please. That's an aerial view of the proposed site to show that it's using the existing access arrangement from the public road to the site. This does not need to be altered. Next slide, please. That just shows the proposed site layout plan. Next slide, please. This is the site layout plan again, but it's marked in colour just for ease of reference. The extensions to the building is outlined in red. The parking for the B3 use is outlined in grey. Staff parking is in blue. And then there's an area to the south which is light brown, and that's for the ancillary business use for motorhome hire. Next slide, please. These drawings show the proposed widenings. As set out in the report, they're 6 metre wide and will be adopted by DFI roads, so the required drainage and road surface will be done all to an adoptable standard. Next slide, please. That just shows the further ones down towards the site entrance, 6 in total. Next slide, please. That just shows the proposed ground floor plan of the workshop. Next slide, please. That's the ground floor plan, but it's marked just for ease of reference. So the red is existing building that has been there and has granted plan approval. The yellow part of the extension is the one they're seeking the retention of, and the green is proposed new extension. Next slide, please. That's the elevations of the workshop and the side elevation front and rear. Next slide, please. That shows the biomass boiler and fuel store plans and elevations. So it's for wood chip pellets. Next slide, please. And not just a small customer waiting area plans and elevations. Next slide, please. The first photo is viewed towards the workshop, but actually within the site there, just to the western boundary. Next slide, please. That's just within the site too, so it's the view of the extended yard area to the rear of the workshop. Next slide, please. That's just a front view of the workshop from the north, that's just below the site entrance. Next slide, please. That's just within the Drumnabreeze Road. That's looking towards the entrance of the site, so it's very well enclosed. Next slide, please. That just shows the view of the entrance from the Drumnabreeze Road looking directly, so that site entrance will still be used. Up in there, actually, there is passing bays. Next slide, please. That just shows some of the road improvements along the Drumnabreeze Road. So it's a public verge, and it's going to be extended in both directions to make sure it's 6 metres wide, and the same with the bottom one. Next slide, please. That is the only place where you can get a rough view of the site. It's from the Tulumley Road, actually weird, but you have to really stop at a gap in the hedge to try to see it. And again, it's so well enclosed, this site, you can't see it from any public viewpoints. Thank you, members.
Sinead, thank you very much for your report. Members, just to remind you, Richard O'Toole is online for clarification purposes only. Should you have any questions for him? So I'll open up to the floor. Is there any questions, members? Okay, you all seem relatively content with that report. If there's any thoughts on the application as it stands, you want to make them now at the debate stage? I think everybody's good with the report. So I think I'll move on to decision stage. So could we have a proposer and seconder as required? Councillor O'Dowd will bring you in.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it was a very thorough report from Sinead as usual, and I'm more than happy to propose this. It is well enclosed, and I don't see any reason why we would object. So I'm happy to propose.
Thank you very much, Councillor O'Dowd, for your proposal. I'll bring in Councillor Armstrong next.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, happy to second that proposal by Councillor O'Dowd. Again, thank you, Sinead, for the comprehensive report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Armstrong. So we have a proposal to accept the recommendation as outlined by Sinead, by Councillor O'Dowd, seconded by Councillor Armstrong. Are we all agreed? Agreed by the sounds of it. Okay, so Richard, you weren't required, so thank you for joining us online anyway. Members, we are going to move on to Appendix 5. Next, that's application number LA08/2024/1436/F. And Roisin Hamill, our Principal Planning Officer, is going to present the report and the PowerPoint presentation. Also in attendance and online and have speaking rights for clarification purpose only is Mr. Tom Stokes from TSA Planning Limited. Tom, you're very welcome, and if we have any questions for you, we will bring you in as required. So, Roisin, if you indicate that you want to come in, I will bring you in.
Thank you, Chair. This application seeks permission for the amalgamation and change of use of Units 1 and 2A to provide an entertainment facility to include a bowling alley with ancillary amusement arcade and food and beverage uses at the Boulevard outlet in Banbridge. The application is being presented to committee tonight as this a major application. It is taken that members have read the report in full, and as such this is a synopsis only. The site is located outside the town centre of Banbridge as defined in the Banbridge Newry Mourne Area Plan. It is within the settlement limit on land at Cascam Road within a mixed-use zoning. The key site requirements for this mixed-use zoning only state the range of unacceptable uses. As the proposed use is not one of the unacceptable uses as set out, the proposal is compliant with the key site requirements of the zoning and compliant with the plan as a whole. Therefore, a full assessment of retail impact and need and a sequential assessment is not mandated by policy. Notwithstanding this, and as set out in the report, the applicant has submitted a report setting out consideration of town centre sites and also has submitted an assessment of need. The design, siting, layout, materials and landscape treatment of the proposed development have all been assessed by officers and are considered to be acceptable. Impact on residential amenity is also being considered, and due to separation distances to third-party properties, he's considered the proposal would not result in any unacceptable impacts on residential amenity. The impacts of the proposal on access, traffic and parking have also been considered. A transport assessment form, as well as a parking statement and surveys, has been submitted in support of the application. In terms of capacity of the adjacent road network, officers in consultation with DFI Roads are satisfied the proposal will not prejudice road safety or significantly inconvenience the flow of traffic. Officers accept that while the proposal would require 32 car parking spaces as per the parking standards document, the location of the proposed extension will result in the loss of 38 standard car parking spaces. However, it is recognised that parking standards are based on standalone land uses and do not take into account multiple land uses provided within a retail park setting and the potential of shared use between the various land uses. It is accepted that there will be a level of shared use between the various land uses, and the application of standalone parking requirements to each land use would be onerous. Furthermore, parking surveys were undertaken by the applicant, which showed that parking utilisation at the site is busiest during a Saturday. In addition, while Trix data shows that the proposed bowling alley is likely to generate the highest trips during a Saturday, the proposed bowling alley's peak period occurs between 7 and 8 on a Saturday, well outside the typical weekday and Saturday peaks at the site. Overall, the assessment has demonstrated that there is sufficient car parking availability to accommodate the bowling alley at peak times. Officers in consultation with DFI Roads conclude that the internal layout can accommodate a level of parking is sufficient to meet demand and is in keeping with policy. As part of the development scheme, measures are included which introduce and improve pedestrian linkage to the proposal, which will help encourage more sustainable forms of travel. The proposal has been accompanied by a supporting statement and design and access statement, a transport assessment form, biodiversity checklist, sequential assessment, and these have been appraised by the relative competent authorities who have raised no concerns. No third-party objections have been received, and on balance, officers will recommend that the application be approved subject to the conditions set out in the report. And I'll just take you through the slides. And the arrow there just shows you where the site is within the area, just to the south of the A1. And this, as you can see, this is the red line goes around the planning unit of the whole outlet site. And this gives you an idea of the aerial view of the site as a whole, and again the red line goes around the entire outlet site. So this is a close-up view of the proposed site, and the area highlighted in red includes the units that are to be amalgamated and the area for the proposed extension. And as set out in the report, this is a mixed-use zoning which can accommodate a variety of uses, and you can see the site there in red within that mixed-use zoning. And this is our proposed site layout. The grey building to the south is the units that are being amalgamated, and the blue area is the proposed extension. And this is the proposed floor plan, which will accommodate 21 bowling lanes, an amusement arcade, dining areas, pool tables, etc. And you can see there's a small mezzanine area as well, which will accommodate an office, staff room and plant room. So these are the proposed elevations. So the elevation to the top is the rear facing elevation that will face the access road as you drive into the outlet. And below is the side facing elevation onto the car park. And these are other elevations. So the top one is a side elevation facing down towards the McDonald's unit, and then the bottom elevation is the one that will face inwards internally to the outlet units. So this gives us the idea of the non-motorised or the pedestrian connections layout, and it shows crossing points, family and disabled car parking spaces, and the pedestrian connection layouts. So these are just a few photographs of the site. So this is the view of the unit just taken from the access road. And this is another view, and this is where the proposed extension will be located on this elevation. And just another view showing where the proposed extension will be located. And this gives you an idea of the two units that are to be converted, and this is the view towards the car park. And this gives you an idea of this is the internal, the view into the internal outlet itself. And finally, that's just another photograph of showing you the existing units that are to be converted. Thank you, members.
Roisin, thank you very much for your report. Members, just to remind you, we have Mr Tom Stokes online for clarification purposes if they are required. Have we any questions for Sinead or Roisin? Okay, members, there's no questions there, so if there's any thoughts on the planning application, if they'd like to share them with us. Councillor Wilson, I will bring you
in. Thank you, Chair. It's good to see this actual proposal coming in front of Planning Committee. I know this has been talked about for some time, and I know we had a meeting with a few youth groups a few years ago, Chair, and I think you were there as well. And one of the things that come out, they would love a bowling alley, that they could, something that the young people could, do within the area. So it's great to see this actually coming to committee today, and definitely be minded to recommend or the proposed recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wilson. Next we have Councillor O'Dowd.
Thank you, Chair. I totally agree with Councillor Wilson. It's well overdue. That end of the boulevard, I know myself, I've been a few times. I will get so far up, I'll see the Omniplex, and I just turn. So up there is, them units are kind of wasted. So to have a bowling alley there, I'd say I'll be there a lot more often, but it'll be, I think it would be absolutely fantastic.
Thank you, Councillor O'Dowd, and I'll bring in Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Roisin, for the report. No, it's a good news story. It's great to see expansion of the boulevard, especially now targeting towards the nighttime economy. We do talk about that. It's probably been the theme of the day is, how do we improve the nighttime economy and stuff like that. So I think a bowling alley will be very good for that, and also gives an opportunity for young people to come together and talk. And we do talk about a lot of mental health as well these days, and there's not much for teenagers to do and usually they're loitering about and on the streets and causing issues. But at least if there's someone here, get into bowling, have a bit of crack, hang out with their friends and talk. So good news story all round, I think. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Armstrong, and the members for their comments. It seems to be a very positive application and been well received by the committee. So, members, do we have a proposer and seconder for it? Councillor Ian Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm delighted and happy to propose a recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson, and Councillor Armstrong.
Yeah, just happy to second that proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Armstrong. So that is Appendix 5. It has been proposed by Councillor Wilson and seconded by Councillor Armstrong. Are we all agreed, members? Thank you very much. So that's that application done. Tom, you weren't required, but thank you for joining us online. Okay, members, we're going to move on to Appendix 3 and 4, and we're going to take these together, but we'll need a separate proposer and seconder for each of the applications. So Appendix 3 is application number LA08 2024/1375/F, and it relates to Lurgan College, and Appendix 4 is the same, and this relates to approved listed building consent, and that's application LA08/2024/1378/LBC. And Sinead, will you take us through both of them, please? Thank you, Sinead. I'll bring you in now.
Yeah, Thank you, Chair, for agreeing to take both together. The application is for the erection of a sports hall and fitness suite, the demolition of an existing teaching block, the removal of 5 modular classrooms and the erection of an extension to a teaching block, and the resurfacing of an existing tennis courts and relocation of an LBG tank and fencing. And the reason is before the application is because it's a major application, and the list of building consent is an associated application with this, and such that's been presented to members also. It has been taken the members have read both reports in full, and as such this will only be a synopsis. The application site is located within the settlement limit on Whiteland. It is also located within a local landscape policy area and immediately adjacent to College Walk area of townscape character. In addition, the school is a Grade B1 listed building, and the new extension as per the proposals under 2024-1378 LBC and the new build element lie within the curtilage of the listed building. As such, all these require listed building consent. The proposed development is not considered to conflict with any of the policies within the local development plan. However, officers are of the opinion that because the application site is not zoned for educational purposes, the proposed development is not fully compliant with the plan. And for that reason, in accordance with the SPPS, officers have fully considered PPS 8 and the protection of open space, concluding that this proposal will result in substantial benefits to the community that decisively outweigh the loss of open space. In addition to that, a sequential assessment and a retail impact assessment is not required to be submitted in this case. Furthermore, there is a need for these proposals as supported by the local community, and no objections have been received. Officers are of the opinion that the Lurgan College building and associated landscape planting will not be compromised by the proposed development or impact on the local landscape policy area. The design, layout and landscape treatment have all been fully considered by officers, and we are content that these finishes will complement the existing school building, and this is also being collaborated by the Historic Environment Division in relation to the listed buildings. Officers in consultation with the Environmental Health Department are satisfied that the proposed development will not unduly affect any neighbouring properties by noise. As regards to access, movement and parking, pupil and staff numbers will remain actually unchanged as a result of this proposed development. Accordingly, the development will have no impact on car parking. In relation to the drop-off and pick-up facilities, it is concluded that the existing drop-off and pick-off measures at the school are sufficient, and the redevelopment proposal will have no impact on these areas. As set out in your reports, this application has been accompanied by 3D visualisations, an acoustic assessment, design assessment, an ecological assessment, including a bat and tree surveys, site investigation report and a risk assessment, a geotechnical appraisal, a transport assessment form and a statement of need, a drainage assessment. They've got their Schedule 6 consent, and the specification of finishes have all been fully considered. These are all been appraised by the relative competent authorities, and none have issued any concerns. An application for listed building consent has been assessed in parallel to this full application, LAO 8 2024-1378 LBC. Officers engaged in consultation with the Historic Environment Division, Historic Buildings, in relation to the proposed development and the associated impact on the listed building, as set out in SPPS and policies BH8 and BH11 of PPS 6. The design team have worked closely with the Historic Environment Division during the course of this application to provide amendments and clarification as and when required, and this involved further consideration of the suitability of some of the proposed materials, which have now been considered acceptable. No objections have been submitted in relation to the proposals, and after undertaking a policy assessment, officers are of the opinion that the proposed development complies with the area plan, the SPPS and all other relevant planning policies. On that basis, it is recommended planning permission be granted for LAO 8 2024-1375F, and consent is granted for LAO 8 2024-1378 LBC, subject to the conditions set out in both those reports. I'll take it through the PowerPoint presentation, members. So there's the location of the site. It is to the northwest of Lurgan Town Centre. Next slide, please. So that's the site outlined in red. So it encloses the entire school buildings and the existing football pitches. And for those that know the area, there are football pitches on the other side of the road outlined in blue that actually are involved with this college as well. Next slide, please. So that's an aerial view of the proposed site outlined in red. Next slide, please. That just shows the site layout plan. So the orange is the extension and the blue is the new build sports hall, and the tennis courts are situated to the west along the rear boundary, which are to be upgraded as well as part of this application. Next slide, please. As with any large development, when the school is still inconsistent, there has to be a phasing plan. So you can see there, the first is construct a new sports hall. That will involve the removal of 5 trees, but there is a group of 40 there, so we're content. The second will be the demolition of the changing block and 1 mobile. The third phase will be the construction of the new teaching block and refurbishment of the tennis courts. The fourth will be decant into the teaching blocks, and then finally remove all the remaining mobiles. Next slide, please. That just shows the teaching block elevations. Again, they're finished in the same materials as the existing school. Next slide, please. That's the floor plans of the teaching block. And the next slide, please. The sports hall elevation. So the sports hall element of it is actually a standalone building adjacent to existing pitches. Next slide, please. And that shows the floor plans of the proposed sports hall and associated changing rooms. Next slide, please. So that just shows the site sections in relation to the new build and the sports hall. It actually is working with the contours of the site. Next slide, please. So that's an aerial view of the sports hall. You can see it sort of works with the site, so it's a split level development, allowing for the upper floor for the sports hall. Next slide, please. That is a view of the front of the existing school. So as you know, it's a grade B1 listed building. Next slide, please. So that's a view of the existing teaching block was to be demolished. This was actually a modern extension that was added on years ago. So by removal of it, it won't be impacting the existing listed building. Next slide, please. So that just shows at the back of the tennis courts, looking back up towards where the sports hall is located. 5 trees will have to be removed. The rest then can be protected. Next slide, please. And that just shows looking down from the car park area towards where the new build will be, and you can see it'll overlook the existing football rugby pitches that are there. Thank you, members.
Thank you very much for those reports, Sinead. Members, over to you if there's any questions in relation to the 2 applications from Sinead. Councillor Mutra, I will bring you in.
Thank you, Chair, for bringing me in, and thank you, Sinead, for the report. Sinead, it's a very thorough, exhaustive report. I appreciate that. There's quite a lot of commentary there about parking. I know there's going to be a wee bit of disruption there, and there's temporary accommodation for pupils throughout this redevelopment. Can I just ask, I didn't actually note this, and I know that the parking survey is satisfied, but can I just ask, is there any actual extension to the number of parking spaces for both staff and pupils? Just maybe cognizant of that ever being a problem, further down the line, if the school was to get bigger, or if that was going to be problematic to residents, because as an elected representative, that's something I hear time and time again. Parking seems to be an issue at every school, so if you could just give us a wee bit of detail on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mutra. Sinead, if you indicate there, I'll bring you in.
Yes, thank you, Councillor, for your question. There's no increase in car parking. However, the existing hard surface area is going to be realigned out in car parking. There is an existing LPG tank that's on the car parking area, which is going to be removed and off-site, so it will indirectly make for more car parking, but simply because there's no increase in pupil numbers or no increase in staff numbers, this is something we can't insist on, and they're content that the existing arrangement is okay.
Sir, Mutra, okay, thank you. Is there any other question, members? If not, we'll move straight to the debate stage. So, has anybody any thoughts on the applications before us? Councillor Mutra.
Thank you again, Chair. Yes, just by way of commentary, I'm a past pupil of the school, so I'm aware of the need for this. I think the school have had a lot of false dawns in terms of their redevelopment, and so this is very much needed. There has been a huge reliance on modular buildings. I know they'll welcome the modernised sports hall as well. That'll be great, and it'll follow on in the rich vein of sporting success the school's had, hopefully. Yeah, it's very ambitious, and it follows on a lot of the redevelopment for schools locally. You only have to look at some of the schools that have been redeveloped here. They're unrecognisable in comparison to where they were maybe 5 or 10 years ago. So no, very satisfied with the report, and I would be more than content to approve this when it gets to that stage. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Murtry, and I will now bring in Councillor Flaherty.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I have to agree with Councillor Mutry. There's an actual need for this development, and it's been very well demonstrated in these reports. It's been taken very seriously, diligently and respectfully by all parties involved with such a detailed report. So I also be more than happy to approve this. And as a past pupil of Portadown College, I hope it's the next one on the schedule, because if any school needs it, it's that one. Delighted to see this, mind you. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Councillor Flaherty. So there's no further lights, so we'll move to proposal stage. So could we have Councillor Mutry?
Yes. Thank you, Chair. Yes, more than happy to propose that we follow the officer's recommendation of approval.
Clarify, Alderman Mutry. You're young for that. So this is Appendix 3. So this is application LEO 8 2024-1375F. I have to take the two separately.
Yes.
So
Happy to propose both applications.
So we'll get that one done first, and then I'll bring it back in to propose the second one.
That's fine.
So, Councillor Flaherty.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, more than happy to second the recommendation by officers.
That is application number LAO 8 2024-1375F, proposed by Councillor Mutry, seconded by Councillor Flaherty. Are we all agreed? And then for Appendix 4, application LAO 8 2024-1378 LBC, I'll bring in Councillor Mutry again to propose it. If you indicate there, Councillor Mutry, I'll bring you in.
Yes, happy again, Chair, to propose approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mutry, and I'll bring in Councillor Flaherty.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and yes, yet again, happy to second that recommendation by officers, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Flaherty. So that's application LAO 8 2024-1378 LBC, proposed by Councillor Mutry and seconded by Councillor Flaherty. So we're all agreed, members? Okay, members, that brings to a conclusion tonight's meeting. It wasn't too painful tonight. I'm sure they'll not all be like this going forward. Councillor O'Kane, 5 o'clock is not the normal finishing time, so don't get any ideas about the shortness of the meetings. As always, thank you for your attendance and your questions and good debate that we'll have, and to the officers for facilitating the meeting. So wish everybody a safe journey.